Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for all the panelists. So I'd just like to start with a quick brief about our session. So it's from weather pattern and crop yields to trade flows and consumer habits. Predictive modeling is turning raw data into real-time insights for smarter decisions across the food value chain. This session will explore how retailers, farmers, governments, and startups are using algorithms to stay ahead of shocks, be it in drought, geopolitics, or shifting demands. So to start with, I'd like to take just a couple of minutes from each of the panelists just to introduce themselves and their background, please. I'll start with you, Hany, please.
Hany Shalaby, supply chain head for Nestlé Coastal Arabia, which is mainly Kuwait, Qatar, UAE, and Yemen. I've been with Nestlé for 30 years, covering many areas, but for the last, let's say, 15 years, I'm working in supply chain.
Thank you. Ms. Fatema?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Fatema AlMulla. I work with the UAE Presidential Court and previously with the Ministry of Climate Change and before that with the Food Security Office. I work on managing a philanthropy fund between the UAE and the Gates Foundation on agriculture innovation.
Thank you. Ms. Regina?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Regina Schmidt, and I'm working for the Innovation Accelerator of the World Food Programme. The World Food Programme is the largest humanitarian organization to reach zero hunger, and at the Innovation Accelerator, we systematically try to identify, to support, and to scale innovations and AI. Very nice to be here.
Thank you so much. Mr. Josef?
Yeah, Josef Schmidhuber, born, raised, educated in Germany, PhD in economics. Spent most of my career with international organizations, with the OECD, with FAO, WTO, led FAO Global Perspective Stats and also Markets and Trade, took early retirement, joined Pure Harvest here, and now we are growing essentially fruits and veggies in the desert. That is coming with a lot of challenges, and some of the challenges can be addressed with AI, and we are trying to do that to the extent we can. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Joseph. So we'll start with you. Pure Harvest is known for being data-driven. How exactly do you turn a vast stream of sectors, markets, and supply chain data into business intelligence? Can you give us a glimpse of how you gather information on markets, trade, investments, and prices, and how would you decide on where to build your next farm?
Yeah, thank you. Very interesting. So I just had an interesting discussion with somebody in the audience, and I would actually like to address some of the questions that he had, because I think that's actually the most relevant thing I can possibly do. So let me explain how we gather information both on the supply and the demand side, and let me start with the demand side. Just like I guess you have subscription to electronic publications, to journals, etc., etc. I mean, we in our business, one of the key journals is, of course, journals in quotation marks, is Horti Daily. So Horti Daily is something that comes out every day and brings together a lot of information from the horticultural sector around the world. And of course, it's not only Horti Daily, but we have AgFunders News, we have AgBI, we have a whole litany of different journals, and just like I subscribe to them, but I probably never have the time to actually dig through it and read through it and actually get the information I should be getting. From time to time, I read through one and actually think, oh, it's so interesting. If I only had the time to have a systematic overview of what's in there. Now, that's not possible, but it's actually possible with AI or with a part of AI, and the technology is called RAG as an acronym, so it's Retrieval Augmented Generation. Perhaps I actually explain how that's being done, and I hope you don't mind some of the technical details, but it could be interesting for some of the people in the audience, as I just noticed in my conversation. So if you have, say, a Gmail account, the first thing you would need to create is a Google service that allows you to access your own Gmail account. And then you would do that, and you would essentially write a scraper. Ideally, I would do it in Python, which I've done. So write a scraper in Python that scrapes all your Horti Daily, Vertical Farm Daily, AgBI, etc., journals, sucks it all in, opens all the links that are in there, sometimes 100 links per edition, and puts it into a document database in the first step. So normally I use MongoDB for that. It's the handiest thing you can have there. But that's just the first step. And so at least you have an overview of what's in all these journals. And now actually the nice part comes. So with RAG, what you do is in the next step, you move away from that document database to a vector-based database, so to say Chroma. And with a vector-based database, you can start actually making intelligent queries to it. So it's what you do in essence is you calculate cosine similarity. It sounds crazy, but it's super easy. It's one of the easiest similarity measures, much easier than TVD, et cetera, but it has the big advantage that you actually can compare two vectors with one another, so the vector of your prompt and the vector that is in your database then. And the closer you are, the smaller the angle between the two vectors, the more likely it is that you hit the right thing. Now, it has the added advantage that vectors can also be perpendicular to one another or go in the opposite direction, and then you know this has nothing to do with each other, or it's actually the opposite. So when you do that, you essentially start becoming able not only to look into one individual version of, say, Horti Daily, but you can go through 3,000 issues of Horti Daily, as I do it, plus all the other journals, and you can ask intelligent questions, such as how much has been invested in control environment agriculture, where, what is the geographic focus, where is the product focus, which companies went out of business, who has invested in a startup, which companies are thriving, et cetera, et cetera. You can actually take that further, and you can even try, just like in Google Flu, and it didn't really work out there, to check where, say, a certain virus is particularly prevalent, where brown rugose virus is spreading, which is a big problem here. And with that, you start understanding not only what the control environment agriculture sector is doing, but you can actually inform any due diligence process that you have in your company. And that's how I use it, etc. I'm very happy to entertain any questions to any developer that's here.
We'll open the question at the end.
That is of interest.
Thank you.
Okay.
Back to you, Regina. So how does the World Food Programme utilizes AI-powered predictive analytics for more effectively support farmers?
Yes, I think that's a very good question. Let me give you an example. What we experience as the World Food Programme is that in many countries in the Middle East and North Africa, we have acute food insecurity. And it's driven by climate change, by water scarcity, and also by conflict. We see that farmers, they are faced with floods and heat waves and droughts. But we also see that governments are not able to respond quickly. They don't have the data in order to do that. So what we try to do is we try to bring together public sector, private sector, farmers, and really work systematically on a change. And we try to bring data and AI in order to do it. And let me briefly describe on how we do it. So there's one dimension which is like geospatial crop intelligence, where we really take satellite-derived data which tells us something about the crop growth stages, the health indices, the yield forecast really on the ground in the field. But then there's a second dimension, which is much more around climate and early warning integration, where it aggregates data on the one hand from automated weather stations, from national meteorological services, where we really have an understanding what is happening on the weather and on the climate. And then the third dimension is AI-driven risk analysis, where we take this data and we use machine learning models in order to simulate. So what is now the probabilities of crop successes and failures? And I think that's quite important because this tells us where are high-risk areas, particularly for farmers, where are areas in the field on a global, regional, local level where farmers are really at risk. And the last step is then really about omni-channel farm advisory, where we try to find the right communication channel to farmers, because it's always sometimes the question of connectivity, it's the question of literacy, that we can communicate to the farmers and really change their behavior, that they can save their yields. And it's quite interesting, this very systematic approach that we've started to do it in Egypt together with the government and also private private sector companies, also startups. We've set it up, we've seen that the government is much more advanced in defining national policies, but also targeting if something is happening. Also from the World Food Program, if we know very precisely when a problem is evolving, we can be super specific in targeting and planning. And for the farmer, it is, if they have reliable data, they have the possibility to have higher yields and income. So I think that's a very nice example on how we use it.
Thank you so much, Regina. Appreciate it. Ms. Fatima, from your role as development specialist, at COP28, the UAE led the Global Food and Agriculture Declaration, placing food system at the heart of climate action. How is Abu Dhabi now building on that leadership to develop an AI ecosystem that advances innovation and resilience in agriculture?
Thank you, Dr. Sami. Seems like everything is about AI these days. And it's so important that agriculture is also part of the conversation. So I want to take you back a little bit on where we started and where we're going. The UAE has had a long, successful track record in building its own national food security strategy and also being part of the international conversations on food. And this was done under the leadership of Her Excellency Maryam Al-Miheri. And by doing so, we've learned and we've listened to the international community, and at COP28, we did something that has never been done before, which is we brought food to the forefront of COP28, which was a massive achievement. And through the through the food declaration, the Food and Agriculture Declaration, we managed to bring 162 countries and heads of governments to sign this declaration, meaning that yes, countries do think that food is important. And then we also announced the UAE and the Gates Foundation partnership on international, on agriculture and innovation. And through this partnership, there was a $200 million fund that went into building and continuing to build the UAE's footprint when it came to agriculture as well as in the development space. One of the things that we did also announce during this as part of this partnership is the International Affairs Office and the Gates Foundation are now launching the Institute of Artificial Intelligence for Agriculture, which is something that we haven't seen before, and it's going to be done in Abu Dhabi. The intention is for it to be a global hub that will be housed in the Mohammed bin Zayed University of AI, and its intention is to design and to drive collaboration, research, and innovation at the intersection of AI and agriculture. So imagine that you have an institute that's able to build and curate large, massive agricultural data, and you're able to develop fine-tuned models. You're able to provide compute and infrastructure and model governance and safety benchmarking in order to ensure whatever technologies go out and are built on AI are well-researched and well-checked on. In addition to this, so you have the Institute for AI and Agriculture. The UAE also joined the CGIAR as a donor member and became the first country in the MENA region to join the CGIAR as a donor member. And part of that partnership is the UAE announced that we will be hosting the CGIAR AI Hub in Abu Dhabi, and within that, we will be rolling out AI products to support smallholder farmers. So the first one we're working on right now, and which will be launched at COP30, is the Ag LLM, which is an agriculture large language model in partnership with the FAO, with the World Bank, with Embrapa, with AI71 as the technology producers. And now you have, what we're trying to do is champion this Institute for AI and Agriculture in Mohammed bin Zayed University, which will house the research, and then you have the CGIAR AI Hub, which will then produce the products for the farmers. So by doing this, we can create this ecosystem and center of gravity for AI in agriculture.
Thank you for the update. Thank you, Ms. Hany, being a long-term veteran at Nestlé, so how did a company like Nestlé leverage advanced tools like AI and machine learning in logistics and inventory to navigate demand and supply interruption during challenging times like Red Sea, COVID, and many other challenges that we live at?
Okay, so, thank you, Dr. Sami, for the question. I think it's, I'll bring a little bit of the logistic side of the AI. And just to share with you, in Nestlé in UAE, we have 4 factories. We produce almost 50% of what we sell in the UAE. So that's 50% of the volume that we sell. The rest we import from different Nestlé factories. So in raw and packaging material, we are having more than 100 suppliers that supply the factories in UAE, the same for finished goods. So a very complex, let's say, network. We move almost 40,000 containers a year, 10,000 plus trucks cross-border. So it's a massive operation that need a lot of people to manage. So if I go back in the 2015, 16, we used to be very reactive in the sense that I need to check where is my cargo. I need to connect to a shipping line, a web page or website to know where is my vessel. Is it delayed? Is it arriving? I will only know when the incident happened. It's exactly like if you're waiting for someone at Dubai International Airport to arrive, and after 16 hours, you just realize they did not board in the plane. So that was the biggest challenge that we were facing. Then in 2017, 2018, we start exploring the connected device. So the GPS system, how can I track my cargo in the vessel inside the sea? How can I have real-time data about my shipment of Kit Kats that we produce in UAE and send to Saudi? Is the temperature fine? Is the driver speeding, et cetera, et cetera? So we moved from a reactive to a real-time proactive, not proactive yet, because we were just counting on what I would know real-time, and then I take action accordingly. And then we realized that it's not enough. Plus, especially that you need a huge number of people, you need a big team to be able to track all that logistic happening. So that's the time when we start introducing the AI. And I think the question is very interesting because we start exploring and counting more on AI in time of crisis. So time of COVID, time of Red Sea crisis, we realize that we can get more and we can become more proactive, let's say, in our approach. You can get, we start using AI program to monitor the movement of our cargo, to tell us if it is delayed or not. And then we realize it can be predictive as well. So, you know, a simple calculation of the distance between one port to port compared to the vessel speed, it can tell me that this shipment will be delayed. And it even allows us to start using alternative route. So it's really open for us a big world of opportunities that now we are counting on. And in the latest crisis that we faced, I remember in COVID, we were called by the food security team to tell us, okay, what do you think about your supply? We were able to give an answer immediately. How can you overcome challenges like closing port in Europe or in China? And that was only enabled with the AI. So if I can just summarize, it enabled us to move from a reactive to a complete proactive mode.
More proactive. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Hany. Back to you, Joseph. So how is Pure Harvest using AI, predictive analytics to optimize yields, resource allocation, and harvest timing in controlled environment? What unexpected supply chain variables has AI helped you anticipate so far?
Yeah, thanks for the question. There are really two different processes, and I think at least for educational purposes, they should be kept apart, even though they overlap very strongly in reality. One is what an economist would call a positive approach, and the other one a normative approach. A less turgid version of this is as far as yield forecasts are concerned, we are only trying to understand what the real yield will be without trying to optimizing it. And in the other one it's really an optimization process with a loss function, and the loss function can be yield maximization or energy minimization or water minimization or the combination of these things. So let me start briefly with a positive element. Now, a lot of people think and actually tell us that you are in a controlled environment agriculture, you should know exactly how much you harvest in 2 weeks, in 4 weeks, in 6 weeks from now. But it is not as easy. Actually, it is relatively complicated, and even though we would like to be able to do this just off the cuff, it doesn't work off the cuff. You really have to be off the sheet and actually off the computer. So this is why we developed this positive yield outlook, and the details of which I can share, but it wouldn't really matter to you, and I am not able to share some of the details because there is IP on it. But the basic things are available to anyone. The basic models are available to anyone. They reach from long short-term memory, LSTM, to TFTs, to reservoir models, to all sorts of other RNNs. It's all available. You get them off the rack. all you need is to have the data, and that's really the magic source is the data. And you need to, and we did this, invest in clean data, and an inordinate amount of effort was actually going into a database that is clean of all the outliers, of the missing values, etc., 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 which eventually allowed us to come up with a system that is super performant. So don't get hung up with all the benchmarking. You will have to do this anyway, both within your own modeling system, but also with others. The key thing there is really get your database. And I think I would like to combine that with a request that if other companies are able to provide data, we'd be very happy to get into a contractual arrangement, because the more you have, the merrier it is for the final output. Now, the optimization is a different problem, so the normative part, we are still in the midst of it, but that is done through a multi-agent model. It's multi-agent reinforcement learning. MAL, I guess many of you know this already. You may think, why is that stuff coming up, or why is he coming up with this turgid nonsense again? But it is really something that you need, because you in this modeling approach, you need to have a model that allows the grower to interact with the machinery they are using. And so this reinforcement learning part is incredibly important. I can get into the details and answer questions if anybody's interested in, but that's the approach we are taking. And then, as said, I mean, the question is, what is the loss function that you want to minimize? But there is, let me conclude with this, even though this all sounds technical, believe me, the existing technology that is being deployed at the moment is not particularly more complicated than the AC system you have in your apartment. It's absolutely unbelievable how little technology has progressed there. And that's really a sector that is rife for disruption. And I think it will happen.
Thank you so much for your feedback, Joseph. Regina, back to you in the World Food Programme. So in what ways can AI enhance the World Food Programme's ability to forecast demand amid so much uncertainty in this world?
Okay, thanks for the question. The World Food Programme probably operates in the most unpredictable environment. I mean, just imagine, we are delivering food assistance around the world. This can be the earthquake in Afghanistan, it can be in Sri Lanka, the tsunami, and it can be the floods in Mozambique. So for us, it's very important to do a very precise forecasting, because if we don't do it right and we don't buy the food and store the food at the right place, in the right quantity, at the right time, we're not serving the people in need. So imagine we are underestimating the demand. It would mean that there are people we can't serve and we need to do last-minute purchases at high prices. Or we are overestimating the demand. It would mean that there are places we have unused stocks, but in other places of the world we can deliver in the emergencies. So it's very important to do this precise forecasting. We have developed an AI tool which is called Scout. It's around supply chain forecasting and planning. And it's AI-powered in order to turn very complex and scattered data into meaningful, actionable insights for planners. And if I speak about complexity, so we are present in 120 countries and territories. We have more than 10,000 suppliers, local, regional, global. We have more than 50 commodities. We have 1,200 ports. I don't know how many ships and trucks and planes. It's super complex. It's far beyond a human mind. And this is where technology helps us. And we have started, so I'm from the Innovation Accelerator. It's an innovation. We started lean with the startup mentality. We piloted in one region in West Africa. And we were optimizing there, and it was amazing to see how high was the accuracy, let's say, in order to forecast the demand. It was above 90%. But it was not only a figure that the planners have received, but they had an option of scenarios, best case, worst case scenarios. And it was also normally, if something happens like that, it's very important that we act fast. And so far, it has taken us 1 week to react. But now we have reduced it to a couple of hours. And last but not least, we were able in one commodity, in one region, and we have more of those, to save $2 million. So if we scale this now, what we're doing at the moment. On a global scale, there are more than 2 million multiplied in cost savings, which we can give back to other people in need. And this is a nice example on how demand forecasting can be empowered by AI.
Thank you so much for your feedback. Back to you, Fatima. Translating innovation into impact remains one of the biggest challenges in agriculture. Now, the UAE has launched AIM for scale to drastically scale up technology to support smallholders. How does this initiative help move proven technologies from pilots to widespread use among farmers in the global south?
So I want to touch on a small part of the question that you said, translating innovation into impact is very challenging.
Yeah.
And in addition to what we mentioned about the Institute and the CGIAR AI Hub, another thing that we did launch is the Agriculture Innovation Mechanism for Scaling. And it's literally built and established on a very simple but very powerful premise that basically nearly all of the innovations that are needed already exist, but they're just not getting to the people who need it the most, specifically to smallholder farmers. So what AIM for Scale does is identifies where those gaps are and brings together innovations to help bridge the gap. So is it financial, technical, operational resources? We bring all of these people in the room to solve these challenges with the different stakeholders like development banks, governments, whoever needs to be there. And we build innovation packages. These innovation packages are basically blueprints of certain specific innovations that are already scientifically proven that they have a lot of potential to scale. So the first innovation package we launched was AI weather forecasting. And we do this with the Nobel laureate as well, an advisory panel, a technical panel, Nobel laureate Michael Kremer. And with the AI weather forecasting, we launched it at COP29, and we were able to mobilize this innovation package, mobilize $500 billion so that it could better AI weather forecasting can reach smallholder farmers. And these models can now generate faster, cheaper, more tailored products than information than we have ever been able to do. So farmers are able to make better decisions. So we have now better AI weather forecasting technology, but I'll tell you a story of when I went to India earlier this June. We wanted to go out to the field and actually explore how this information was being reached, because this information is now reaching 38 million farmers. And when we went out to the field, they're receiving text messages on weather, on monsoon forecasts. But even though you have this amazing AI, which is giving you all of the best forecasting, when you speak to the farmers that are on the ground, you have to be able to speak either in their language or understand their terms. So they're being provided these forecasts, which are so powerful and so accurate and AI-driven, but then you'll have a farmer that will tell you, well, no, I know that the monsoon comes at this specific time because of this specific religious holiday. So we can build the best AI tools that are so good, but if we cannot understand farmer culture, religion, traditions, that information will not get communicated to them. And I think this is an important part for us to also understand.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Fatima.
Thank you.
So, Hany, back to you. So, apart from logistics, how do you see Nestlé using further AI along the supply chain?
I think that's a very interesting question that we ask ourselves every day in Nestlé, because like AI, we're just starting now using it. But one area that we're focusing on right now is the demand planning and the forecast. AI is showing us that consumer trends and pattern can be predicted. Young generation like cold coffee. They don't like anymore the hot coffee. Dubai people like kunafa and they like chocolate. So we have the chocolate kunafa. There is a lot of things that the AI right now is enabling us to see that we were not able to see it before. So from a peak in the demand of a product that is trading on a platform of e-commerce to a weather change that will tell us if we'll be selling ice cream or selling coffee during the time, it makes a big difference for us. So that's one area where we are focusing right now, because it does not only touch the sales, but it also eliminate a lot of waste. It enables us to be closer to the consumer. And it really unlock our potential as a company. The other areas that I will need to share with you, because it's very close to my heart, is the safety. we have a lot of trucks every day on the road, and we know that accidents happen, and we know that sometimes for long hauls, drivers feel tired and sleep. So now using technology in AI-enabled camera. So we start using a device connected to an AI, and that monitoring the driver face. So whenever they see a fatigue or a feeling that sleepy, there is an alarm. So
That's so crazy.
It is really unlocking a lot of potential for us, and we're exploring on the go, because we believe that super power can be really an enabler for every one of us to do a better job and empower our people.
Thank you, Hany. I think you touched on two very important points. One of them is predicting consumer trends and habits in the future, and the other one is safety. And this is just the start. So just imagine where would the end be. Now, just as a closing remarks, please, from each of the panelists, if you can just elaborate with 1 or 2 minutes as a closing remarks. I'll start with you, Joseph, again.
I did not get you.
You did not.
Oh, okay, my closing.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
Sure. Yeah, start from the problem. I mean, there's so much supply out there, and a lot of the things that you may see is completely irrelevant. But really go back to what the problem is that you want to solve, and then look for the solution. I'm very happy to assist you. I'm also a private consultant, so happy to get in touch. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joseph. Regina?
Yeah, I mean, what is very impressive for me today is AI is today. I think we're here. This is not a future promise. I think we see it, we experience it, we have the first benefits out of that. But I think the power of predictive analytics is not about the algorithm. I think it's around the partnerships. I think it can bring together technologists with policymakers, startup with corporates, farmers, and I think if you really see it from a system perspective, there's an incredible value in transforming the food system if we do it in a ethical, in a fair, in a justice way. And there's a big opportunity.
Thank you so much, Regina. Fatima?
Absolutely. Maybe just to touch on what she said is, I think all of us in the room have a responsibility as global citizens to make sure that whatever we do and however we use AI, we do it in the best way possible. I can feel that it will take over very quickly, especially with the kids in the room who are growing up and don't know a world without AI. So I feel this very strongly, that we have such a responsibility to play as we are now in our careers coming to a point where we're part of the growth of AI.
So you mean using AI with really a more responsible approach?
Yeah, responsible, ethical.
Thank you. Hany?
Just two reflections. The first one, I want really to appreciate the role the UAE is playing. Like forum like that, all the facilities that is providing for companies and for startups to really explore that area of AI. The second part, which I really believe in, is that we are just scratching the surface, because we know what we know, and now we're making the AI doing it for us. But all the other capabilities that we are not doing it right now, we did not explore it yet. So I think in 1-2 years, probably the forum and the discussion will be completely different, and we'll be probably talking about completely different thing than what we're talking about. But really appreciate.
Thank you so much, Hany. I think we have just a couple of minutes. Any of the audiences have any questions? Okay, so with that, I'd like to thank all our panelists, Joseph, Regina, Fatima, and Hany. It was hopefully an interesting, exciting, and thanks all for all your feedback and the valuable information that you provided. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.